Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos and welcome to Mythic Silken Court testing. So we've only got about a minute of footage. We only ever got about a minute into this fight. Absolutely nuclear difficulty Mythic testing encounter. We're just gonna pause and like go through things bit by bit because right off the bat, this fight starts hard and then it gets unbelievable very, very quickly. So right at the start of the fight, you have the two bosses. You have the melee boss and the ranged boss. And what happens when you pull them is they cast a Whispers cast, and everybody within 10 yards, or like in this circle, gets marked for the remainder of the fight with either the Rage or the Paranoia marks, right? So either the red or the purple marks. And you can only have 10 people of each mark type. And if you don't get marked, you die. So you have to get one of the two marks. You have to split the raid up 10 and 10. And then you are marked with that color for the remainder of the fight. Now, if you ever walk within 4 yards, like you see this red circle around me, if there's ever a purple player within this red circle around me, we both die. So for the rest of the fight, you cannot touch somebody of the other color. Sounds simple, right? Sounds like, okay, easy enough. You just kind of have the raid split in half and you're in different sides of the room and you don't touch each other, right? Well, the problem is that most mechanics, if you take damage from them, will cause you to spawn a mote of your color. And those motes will wipe the raid if they blow up, but they can only be soaked by somebody of the opposite color as you. And each person can only soak 2 motes. If they soak a third within 8 seconds, they die. And they die in such a way that if you res them, they die again immediately. So they die, forever, Z's, basically, for the rest of the fight. So that means that you have to kind of set up an intricate dance of going and getting the motes from the other group as they come and get the motes that you're spawning without ever actually touching them. So, very start of the fight, we split up. 10 people get the purple mark, 10 people get the fire mark, and then we have the whole raid come over and start attacking the melee boss and kind of leave the caster boss over by itself for a little while. So you can see we have purple people just on the other side here and red people here. Here comes one of the first mechanics, which is these green circles. This damages everybody, and it damages you twice if you stack, which means you'll spawn 2 motes each instead of 1 mote each if you stack, so you need to spread. Otherwise, you get extra motes, and that's catastrophic. So you see we do this, and then bang, we get all of our first set of motes, right? You see we've got all these fire motes on the ground here, all these purple motes over here, and what we do is we shift around the boss clockwise, so that we don't run into the people of the other group. And this, by the way, all the strats we cooked up for this, probably not going to be what it looks like when Echo and Liquid actually come up with a good way to do this fight. This was just the best we could come up with in our raid testing time. So we shift around. Everybody tries to pick up 1 mote, 2 as well. If you pick up 2, you can see I've got 2 stacks of this. It's a little bit of a nastier dot, but as long as you don't get 3, it's fine. If you get 3, you're dead. Then what we want to do is we want to get the red people towards the middle of the room. That's because the red people are going to be the targets of a web mechanic soon, and we want those in the middle of the room. So we sort of shift our red people back in towards the mid, and our purple people hanging out over here. Now there's a bunch of scarabs coming out as well. These scarabs fixate on people and run and beat them up. For the first 30 minutes of testing, they also spawned motes every time they successfully auto-attacked you. That got changed. So they just run at you, and they have a damage reduction as well. So they start at an 80% DR. That decays by 10% every 3 seconds. So 24 seconds later, they don't have a DR anymore, but they still have a lot of health. So what we wanted to do was mostly just knock them, keep them away from people, and especially keep them away from people that were in the middle of web time. Now, did that actually work for us in practice? No, but that was what we were trying to do. Okay, so then we sort of get in the middle of the room, right? You see we've got these webs now being baited, and the idea now is we need to get 3 pairs of webs so that we can stop the boss on the charge. So in order to get webbed, 2 people need to be inside the circle of one of these webs, and then one of them needs to touch the middle bit here. If you have multiple people in, sometimes we would get multiple people webbed kind of to each other, or one person getting webbed to multiple people, but sometimes it wouldn't, and it would only target 2 people. So what we wanted to do was set up 3 pairs of 2 red marked people to each go and get webbed to each other. Because when you do get webbed, you leave motes. So we didn't want purple and red people to be doing this. We wanted just red people. We wanted 6 red motes to be spawning in the middle of the room. And then the red people that aren't getting webbed are just running away and are getting out of there and are leaving it so that the purple people can come and soak these motes. Now, that was the idea. The idea was to have 3 of these lines because you need 3 of these web lines to be created to stop the boss's charge here from hitting the wall. If the boss hits the wall, instead it does a bunch of damage to everybody, as you can see here. But yeah, you can see every time you take a damage hit from one of those, it does spawn motes. And that's it. That's as far as we could make it in this fight. We tested a bunch of different movements and stuff, a bunch of different things. We couldn't get it consistent to. We never were able to successfully hit the boss with 3 webs because people were just always dying to random stuff. You were dying to hitting somebody the other color as you. The damage, you were getting auto attacked by one of the scarabs, which have infinity health and damage reduction and PvP duration on you. If you try and root them, they only have PvP duration on the root, so you can't just leave them mass rooted, which we were trying to do for a little while. So. Yeah, I mean, this fight, I'll show you now without the pauses what a pull looked like for us with kind of the speed and intensity of these different mechanics. So on pull, get our marks. Purples and reds both come to this boss. Reds are kind of shifting outwards. Purple's in the middle of the room so that the purple motes are in the middle of the room because reds want to be in the middle of the room later. So we want those to be there. Not something that we did a pretty good job of. I wish we'd kind of shifted it even maybe another 90 degrees around like that would have made this better. But yeah, just kind of juking around, making sure that I soak exactly 2 motes, not a third, because that would wipe us, or that would kill me, rather, which I guess would then wipe us. Dodging these frontals, if you get hit by this frontal, it's a disaster. You get impaled, but also you spawn a mote, which is a disaster. And then trying to get these webs created, trying to get people webbed up. Okay, we managed to make 2 webs here, get them across the middle of the room. We didn't get a third one, and bang. And then we would also need all the purple people to come and soak these red motes that we made in the middle of the room as well before they all exploded. But yeah, so that's Mythic Silken Court so far. This is phase 1. There are other phases as well. I didn't see them. I don't know if anybody did. Liquid and Echo people have been tweeting cryptically about like, oh, phase 2 is really cool, but I think that's just a meme because people tweeted that after Tindril. It was like, oh wow, yeah, Tindril P3 was really fun in testing or whatever, but like, I don't know, maybe it's a flex. Maybe they did get that far, but I kind of think that everybody that was doing this boss was getting walled in the first, maybe not the first minute, but maybe the second minute of this fight. Yeah, I mean, absolutely brutal mechanic, absolutely incredible. The second 30 minutes were much better than the first because you stopped getting motes spawned when the ads were auto-attacking you, which was really important. That made this fight a lot more reasonable. I would say don't panic. If you're somebody you've got your message already typed out that's like, I can't believe Blizzard are designing another boss for the super high-end players, and like, there's no way any guild could ever reasonably kill this. My cutting-edge guild is going to take 13,000 pulls on this boss. I would say don't panic too much. Like, this is a boss that is that's going to be heavily strategy-based. There's a very good chance there's movement that makes this a lot easier than how we're doing it. And also just like, this isn't like my guild group. This is like 6 guildies and 14 various friends from other guilds and stuff. Our coordination is definitely pretty low. There was a lot of spots where I felt like, oh, we could try this and it would maybe work. And we had a hard time getting everybody on the same page about how to move and what to do. And that costs us a lot of time here. So I would say, yes, this looks really, really, really hard. This mechanic looks like one of the hardest they've made. The entire fight, just very difficult. But this was 1 hour of testing in a suboptimal environment, not especially well prepped. A bunch of people that don't usually play together. So don't panic too much. I think it's I think this fight, you can see we almost got this like right there. We had 2 people that were webbed and just didn't go and create a web, and we would have progged the fight on this pull. So but it's just, this group is not one where that could be relied on to happen early. So that's the kind of thing that as you get to an actual guild group, those sorts of things, it's not that those mistakes won't happen, but it's like the prog, will start adding up. People will start building that muscle memory. You'll start playing it together and figuring out what to do. And crucially, you'll be able to copy guilds that have already killed this boss, how they handle it. Or it will be that hard, and then it'll get nerfed. It's not going to be. They're not going to leave this if it's impossible. They're not going to leave it for too long. Also, this is the second last boss, so unless they do the Amir Drasil thing where every earlier boss is really, really easy, you're not going to be reaching this boss until either it's nerfed or we have stacks of that raid buff that stacks up over time, or you're in a really good guild, in which case, it's this fight looks like it's going to be really hard. I'm gonna level with you. This seems like one of the really hard fights, but I don't think it's going to be as unfair as it may look from this early testing. There are a lot of raid bosses that in early testing you only get a minute through them, and they are not that bad when they actually come out. And there are a lot of bosses where they test them and they're not that bad, and then they, change something about them, and it's really, 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 really hard when it actually comes out. So, anyways, that's Mythic Silken Court. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.